In part 1 of this lecture, we laid out the menu categories page for the medium and larger screen sizes. In part 2, we're going to start looking at smaller screen sizes below medium, so small and extra small. So let's take a look as to what we need to do next. Well, if at MD there's 4 of them, meaning it is column MD3, so that means that maybe at small we want column MD4. So let's go ahead and select each one of these regions, courtesy of Sublime Text Editor that lets us edit multiple regions all at once. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's say space, column, dash small, and in this case we'll do 4. And we'll save that. And let's go to our browser and let's squeeze it now and see if it's going to now get into 3. So right now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and when it gets to small screen size, it should be 3 of them across the page. Let's get there. There we go. So now it's 3, and whatever doesn't fit just starts spilling over to the next line. So what happens when we go even less than that? And they should stack. And again, there's enough room for at least 2 of them, so we're not ready to stack just yet. So let's go back to our editor, and what we'll do is we'll do extra small to be 6, and that way there'll be 2 of them. Again, let's multiple select every region real quick. Make sure I don't miss any this time. Okay, that seems to be just about right. And we'll do column dash extra small 6. Okay, that sounds about right. We'll save that, and we'll go back to the browser. And now if we squeeze it, it will become from 4 to 3, and from 3 to 2. So what happens if we squeeze it any more than that? Seems like there's a problem here, right? It seems like the pictures are just not quite fitting into this particular screen size breakpoint. It seems like we need just yet another breakpoint just to tell them at this point, go ahead and break it up. So there is no smaller breakpoint than extra small in Bootstrap. So we're basically going to have to create our own that is going to say that when we get to a certain point right around here, we'll want the columns to start stacking instead of continuously staying at 6 columns and 6 columns. So let's go ahead and try to do that. Let's go back to our code editor. Let's go to styles.css and we'll scroll all the way down here. And in this case, seems like we already have that from before. So we already have a smaller media query from before. So all we really need to do is define one more column class that will actually work for our case. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's call it column-xxs. So extra small 12. So at this point, it's going to be that the element that has this class assigned is actually going to take the entire grid of 12 columns. Okay, so how do we do this? How do we define this column XX12? Well, one good trick here is to look in on Bootstrap and to see how it defines column XS12, because really it's exactly the same thing as ours, except we are sitting in a different media query than the XS12. So it's really exactly the same thing, but now sitting under a different media query, which we're already here. So let's go ahead and go to let's copy this, and we'll modify this in a minute. Let's open up Bootstrap, and let's search for column XS12, and there it is. We found this. Let's see what the styles are for that. And here are the styles. And I'm not sure that I understand all of them, I must tell you, because I'm not sure why it needs to be relative, and certainly doesn't understand why it needs to be minimum height of 1 pixel, but it really doesn't matter for me, because I just really want to mimic the same Bootstrap behavior that already exists. So let's go ahead and see if there's anything else that we're missing. What else is there? Oops, I didn't want to erase that. Go and find another one. There's another place here. And float left. Okay, so they're all floating left, even though, again, in our case, I'm not sure that we really need that. But just to be consistent with Bootstrap, I'll go ahead and keep that as one of my styles. Column axis and width 100%. That's a really important one, right? Because without width being 100%, we're not really going to be able to stretch the entire width of the screen. And at this small, super small, extra small screen size, we want whatever element gets this class to stretch across the entire screen. Let's see if we have anything else that we need to look at. And I believe that's just jumped right back to where we were. So that's pretty much it. So now that we defined our column XX12, we could save that and go to menu categories.html and then define on every single one of those elements column dash XX12, XSS-12, and save that. And when we go back to our browser, let's see if that's working. So now we're at 4, it goes to 3, goes to 2, and right around the smaller part here, the super small, it should jump to 1. And so it does. It actually is working. Okay, so I think we're basically done with this, and we could go back to our menu categories.html, and really now it's a question of how many categories we have and just basically copy and pasting every single one of them if we wanted those categories to be manually entered in this page. Now, it happens to be, as we're going to go into JavaScript, we're going to dynamically output all these things. So it really doesn't matter that they're sitting here this way. We're going to take care of that later. But at this point, it's laying out just fine, and the entire layout of the page of menu categories is working. So we're done with this page, and we can now move on.